The Wellness Show, Episode 50.
Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyhson, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. All right, so we're starting the second part of our time together here. This may be produced in addition to the Wellness Show, but who knows? So further to the conversation about ways that we are sharing resources and interests, I see lots of possibilities. I do know that the group interaction that you're talking about is vitally important. In fact, I've been yearning for that connection to create a high-powered group of people that's focused on clearing the planet. The particular clients that I get that are really those that have got themselves into trouble with their bioenergy field. They're mostly energy healers or they're advanced souls. So they're here on a mission like you are, but they've got themselves infested with all sorts of entities that are shutting them down. Some of them consciously being directed by non-beneficial forces, and we don't need to go into who's doing what to whom. My only interest is cleaning them up and helping them take back their personal power and stand in their truth, because I know when I am able to do that they're the ones that are going to change the planet. And once they're cleaned up, they can't help themselves. They're so fired up, they're going to start clearing everybody else up, and the planet will be part of that clearing process. So I know that for myself, I'm at the edge of my capability to do it as an exorcist of possession. Some of the things I just can't bust them through. They're locked into their story, and their story is more powerful than letting go of the story and reclaiming their freedom. So I know that I need some external assistance, whether it's, scalar sound technology like we talked about, or whether it's group consciousness like you're doing on the global level of a consortium of people that chooses to work together to allow us to break this bondage that so many people are enslaved to. And I don't want to get into who's doing what to whom, like I said, but that's really part of where I'm coming from and part of what my mission is all about.
You might want to join the groups. We do. They're currently at 5 o'clock on Sunday. I will send you the call-in information. But go to globalclearings.com. Listen to a couple of them just so you get the feel for what we're doing. We've just switched up how we do them. Basically, we kind of get on and reconnect for 5-6 minutes at the beginning. So make sure everybody's there. And then we start the intention. We state what the intention is. We email it out ahead of time. And then we do it for an hour. Last week was an hour and 15 minutes, but they're almost always just an hour. And then and during it, as you'll see, every 15 minutes or so, the other co-founder of the group, or on Earth anyway, leader will just do a refresher so we remember what the intention is, so we stay focused. And then we take a couple minutes to come out at the end. Then what we're going to start doing now, we used to talk about experiences, but we just changed that to say what we're going to do is at the end of the hour, we take a 5-minute break. We then come back and we have a little party where we just do a clearing for the group, usually about 20 minutes. And then after that, those who want to stay will be able to share experiences of either the first part, the global clearing, or what they noticed during the group clearing. And that's it. But we switched it because people were having to make a 2.5 hour commitment. We wanted people to get in and out in an hour and 20 for those who needed to be able to do that. So and they're kind of cool. They're really fun. So
what time are they on Sundays?
5 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, there may be a bit of a conflict. Interesting enough, I'm part of a dowsing consortium that meets every second Sunday around 4. But that might, but that's doing the same work. We're actually, or similar work. We just cleared a huge vortex in an area in the United States that was really locked up, and we're about to also do a group book together, which I'm quite excited about, which will be how to clear the landscape using dowsing and geomantic techniques. So I love the fact that that's near the same time, has a similar mission statement to it, right? To help people clear. The one I'm doing is every Tuesday at 3 p.m. I'm helping people who show up on the call do personal clearings and teaching them how to do that. And I've just moved that from being a freebie. I was a free for a year and a half. I think it's now $6 a month. I just felt we needed to have some money flow in that because I asked people for donations, but it wasn't working. So we'll see if this one works. So that's for people to come on and have personal clearings.
Yeah, I saw that on your website. That looks $6 or $9 or something. Does that sound like the thing?
Yeah.
And I thought that was very interesting. What time is it?
It's 3 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Interesting. Let me think about that.
You know, what might be valuable is if these frequencies that you're talking about, my frequencies are sound frequencies. So to play them, it interferes with the conversation, right? But if your frequencies are sound frequencies, it might be really powerful to broadcast some of those frequencies that go right into the people's homes when they're on that call.
Yes, you can absolutely. Yeah, we could. I'm wondering if about doing something together. But yeah, we do have. I do things similar where, and speaking of broadcasting, one of the ways that we thought about doing this was putting these silent frequencies on the soundtracks of movies and television shows and all of that. That just became insurmountable very quick. What you'd have to do, how much people would pay, and everything, but. Dolby systems are already sound systems. There are different things, but it just got complicated. So we dropped that out of the potential plans. Yes, you can do things when people call in. You could have something running. I'm tempted to think maybe I should, if you're interested, I could be on the calls with you and I can run some things. But it might not be a bad idea if you were too.
Yeah, think about that. I mean,
that can work together. Interestingly, I just as a coincidental thing or not coincidental because somebody's organizing all of this.
Thank goodness.
We were at 4 o'clock on Sunday until daylight savings time hit, and then some people on the East Coast wanted more time to work in their garden, and they said, "Can we push it back an hour?" And so we did, and. It'll go back to 4 again in the autumn, I expect. But truthfully, we can do. Somebody mentioned if we start getting people from Europe, that's going to be too late, but we'll address all that as it comes up. How long do your 4 o'clock Sunday things take?
Well, they were supposed to be an hour, but they've been going like an hour and a half. So I maybe need to rein that in. It really depends on where people are. And synchronicity has been happening more and more where the people show up. There's usually not a lot of people on the call, but the common issue is interconnected. It could be karmic to do with a past life or a certain issue. And we find everybody who showed up needs to have that clearing. So it's sort of interesting how it's evolving, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you're not there at the beginning of the call, people come in and, I mean, it's not like an in and out thing, but there are people who do show up late and just click in and, that part's silent. Just join in. You'll have an email of what the intention is. And those who need to leave when they leave. And that's so, Yeah, you'd be more than welcome.
Right.
I will send you the information about it. And yeah, we use instant teleseminar, so it's just a free call, and or it should be. You can do it over the web or a phone number, so whichever works for you.
Great. Sounds great. So that's one of the ways we can work together. The other is the quantum sound therapy. It seems to me, as you know more about that, and if it interests you, or if you see parallels in the work that you're doing, that's all channeled through Hilarion. And what little I know about it is his intention is, or what I've heard is, this technology has been on the planet 5 or 6 times before, but never to the extent now. And the intention of the downloads is that it takes the human consciousness to their edge of their capability to handle the frequencies. So it's like raising the collective consciousness, but doing it on the individual level. So that's the intention of those programs. And so there's a number of different, like the biggest one is Tesla, and they need, I don't know how many X of those to put on a planet to shift it as well. So, I mean, there's lots of similarities going on, right?
What medium did they use to broadcast it? Do you know?
This
is something. Yes.
Sorry, well, this one here has is the coil, right? And in it is a noble gases. And I think in this one they'll be mixed, which will be helium and krypton, and I think 4 of the noble gases, and I can't remember which ones are off the top of my head, but they're mixed in there. And then this is like a tube torus or a donut of nesting around it that then excites the noble gases, which then communicate to the noble gases in the body. So part of the theory behind it is that these noble gases were more in the atmosphere at the time of, say, Atlantis than they are now. And when they're present in your environment, your brain starts to remember who it is, right? Or your consciousness starts to reconfigure itself in and be entrained to these frequencies. And then there's a small...
Yeah, it also... I'm just to interrupt you for a second, my apologies. It also clears out some of the toxins that are in the atmosphere right around the area where within the physiology those noble gases are being awakened. So it resonates, this is what I'm getting. So it resonates within your physiology, but it doesn't just awaken those localization, but it actually sparks and clears out the area around it as well, because as you said, at different times in the earth when it was clearer, the pollutants that are there now, just pollutants in general, we're not concerned with what, weren't there, so that the gases disallow the existence. How do we want to say it? It just clears out. It clears out the area not only of the gas itself, but a reasonable sized pocket around it. So if you're carrying one of those things, it's going to, over time, that pocket is going to expand and expand. So the noble gas area is itself clear, but then what it does is it clears increasingly the area around it and around it and around it. And if you carried one for 1 to 2 years, your whole, the energy field up to maybe a foot around you would be pretty clear of a lot of that stuff.
That's interesting, because I haven't been carrying it with me lately. There's AM programs and PM programs to run through this, with a little tiny player, and the player is only about this big. And I love that, because, and I should start doing that from what you said, because my body will entrain to those frequencies and carry those frequencies spontaneously. Like you said, in a year, it will have entrained and literally carry those without being enhanced by the technology. In the basement...
Yeah, just because of the toxins in the atmosphere, you're right. You could stop using it in a year, But I wouldn't stop altogether. I'd keep using it because, again, we're being inundated with unpleasant, and you want to just keep, just because I ate one good meal and I feel great now doesn't mean I'm not going to want another meal later.
Exactly. So did you get a chance to go to my Sacred Soul Sound website yet?
I did. I went to almost all of the links that you sent me and looked over them and was kind of overwhelmed and very excited about what you had. I thought there was definitely some things that we could work with. The thing that you just showed me, I was actually told I can program my frequencies into it. If I had the unit in front of me, I can run it into it and then send it back to you, and you can see what the difference is. But it should help significantly because it will, in addition to what it's already doing, it'll start clearing things out in a more fundamental level all around you. And they're wavelengths. Yeah. So it's not that it clears, 2 feet around you and then ends. It doesn't end. It just kind of, mist or whatever you want. It just kind of goes out and it just continually gets better and better around you. It would be very cool. I would want one of those. That would be a very cool thing to have.
Well, I can make arrangements for you to do that. I think they're around $1,000 somewhere in there, Canadian. So, and they're of course available in the U.S.
Okay.
So
here's what I'm getting, Tyhson. Hold up just the circular tube again.
Yeah.
What I'm getting, just the tube. What I'm getting is that if I take the tube, and that if I can put something not plugged into it, I can put something on both sides of it and run it for, I think, 48 hours, and then take it away and then send you back the tube, and the tube will have it coded in it permanently in a more powerful way than running the MP3 player. It'll have it in it, and then you can add the MP3 player for your thing as well.
So you're going to program the gases.
The gases and what is and the metal inside. Yeah.
The tube. I think it's like a tube. My impression is it's like a tube torus, right?
Yeah. Again, it's one of these interesting things that sometimes, how do we say this? Sometimes we know what we're doing, and sometimes, I grab this wire, and then what do I do? Right. And it's like, okay, what did I just do? Don't worry about it. Just move on.
Just move on, right. All right.
But that's what I'm getting, is that to program the unit itself. But you don't make them and sell them. Somebody else does, and you bought it from them.
Somebody else makes them.
Interesting. It's too bad you don't make them. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sending me the link.
Yeah, I will. I could also send you this if you want, and you can play with it. So, do you know of any have you ever heard of Slim Sperling's work?
No.
He's created harmonizers, which are sacred geometry that when you put them in the atmosphere, or you put them in San Francisco, it will clear around all the smog out of San Francisco. This type of technology at this size, going through a harmonizer, which is sacred geometry, will then intensify the range of it exponentially. So that's another thing that you can think about, is if you took your work and put it into a dodecahedron, or even made the speakers out of dodecahedron, or just set the coil or the broadcasting through a dodecahedron, you'll have it explode exponentially the range of the broadcast. So something to think about.
Yeah, and I appreciate your mentioning that, but we work backwards from that. The original ones that we had that we did years ago, when we said, when you said, what's the range of influence? And I said they were entire regions. They actually went to the edge of the galaxy, and because of the frequency ranges, but I didn't really want to say that. And so but again, what happened was because, and I'm just gonna, you want to say it? There just seemed to be resistance. I don't know that the term is, it seemed we had difficulty getting those things actually manifested and working on the planet. For whether it was resistance or whether the world wasn't ready or whatever it was, we just thought, just your thing is, let's get all the individuals, we'll take care of everybody. And we're saying, let's get the individuals and let's get 10 of their friends. Because when we came in and said, let's get everybody, too many people squirmed, whether we're talking about human people or whether we're talking about somebody else. Right. So while we know how to, we already have the technology to blast, 6 for the whole United States, So we already have those. And I can't remember for the world, but it wasn't that many. It was like 108, or I think it was 120 was all we needed for the entire world. And this was years ago. But it just got, you need to get individual people, because otherwise nobody can, whatever it was. As I said, this one, the original one, we donated. People could buy the unit or people donated in, and we would find somebody to host it. And we spent months where people had paid for complete units, and we were trying to find people in particular parts of the country, and we couldn't do it, to get people who would commit to just hosting these simple things to prevent the economy from crashing, to prevent.
Well, you better send me one. I've got a light station going on here. I have other technology like this that is imbued. It's glass imbued with consciousness too. And there's a set like this downstairs that was $800, but I was gifted 50% of it. And there's a set of those going around the world that sets up a network as well. So the interesting thing is there's a number of different technologies that have the same intention of clearing the planet and getting them out. So, maybe that's part of the way to do it, is piggyback on each other's networks, although people get proprietarily locked into their technology being better than the other. But from my perspective, if it has an intention of clearing the planet, let me have some. I'll put it into my dodecahedron and I'll broadcast it, right? So
I think I want to make something special for you, Tyhson. I'm not. Let me play with it. Let me think. I think we want to send you something a little bit separate than the Davis system. Because you've already got, as you said, you've got a ton of stuff around that piece you just showed me. Absolutely fabulous. And I agree with you that whether they piggyback or whether they support each other, look, it may be that we need 1 million people doing X. And it may be hard to get 1 million people doing X, but it may be easy to get 10,000 people doing Y and 8,000 people doing S. Yeah. And the overall effect works fine as long as they all get that we're holding hands and working together. Yeah. The problem for years has been that people have forgotten that kindergarten is part of the educational process. To get to the PhD, you have to go through kindergarten and that different people on the planet are at different levels of receptivity of what they can respond to. So somebody comes in and they're offering Reiki, and somebody else is coming in and they're offering, Ayurveda, Jyotish, and gem therapy, and somebody else is coming in and they're offering. And what they don't understand is that one person may not be able to hear A, but they can hear B. Yeah. Great, do B, and it'll get you to C, to D, to, eventually it'll do it, but just do something. But the problem is everybody's been so snooty, like, you're doing that, how could you? It's ridiculous. And what they need to do is, you're doing that, good for you, that's great. You're doing that, that's great. We're all marching together, The army needs a cook. It needs, the cavalry. It needs the guys who take care of this. It needs the guys. it's not, you know, all the medics go, we're professional doctors, you know, in the Army. If they're not there as part of the team, the whole thing falls apart, you know. It's so yeah. So one of the that's the whole intention for the group thing, is, you know, get as many people from as many different traditions, as many different healing modalities, as many different spiritual groups to work together to just show the world that, hey, there's so much righteousness on the planet already, that if it aligns, if all the righteousness groups align with each other, the other side, there's no contest. It's no contest. It's a 1,000-watt light bulb in a 3x3 foot closet. You know, right. It's not going to. So
yeah, that's how I see it. I think the kindergarten analogy for me is, you know, the fundamental thing that we didn't learn in kindergarten was how to play together in the sandbox.
Yeah, but again, that was intentional. So
yeah, we have to compete in the sandbox, I guess.
Well, it is, again, you know, one of the things that I'm loving about what's coming is the celebration of diversity rather than what's been happening before. We don't want a world where everything's the same. We want a world of all the diversity, all the insects, all the plants, all the different types of people, all the everything, because that's what's fun, you know. You know, the reason that somebody eats Chinese one night and Italian the next night and Thai the next night and all that is for variety. And if you just had to eat the same turkey sandwich 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, your whole life, it just, you know, you just lose something about it. So, you know, the colors that they have in fabrics from India, and the, you know, silks and the flavors from this country or that country, or the accents, or the, you know, the cultural upbringing from different, they all add so many diversely wonderful flavors, so many cool things to explore on this planet. And if you get that they're cool things, and you don't go, oh my God, you're 2 inches taller than me, or you weigh 30 pounds more than me, or you weigh 30 pounds less than me, and oh my God, you know, when they can get past that and they just go, you're doing that, that is cool, it's gonna rock. It's gonna be amazing. So,
well, that's hopefully what the wellness show is all about, that people get that there's different ways to deal with wellness and health and wealth, and that they're all unique, and they're all stepped in the right direction. And like you say, one is not necessarily better than the other. One may speak to one person and then not speak to another. And that's where, like you said, the diversity is really what supports an ecosystem. A strong ecosystem is that biodiversity. And without it, we have multiple systems that can take over from each other if there's some disconnect. So.
Yeah, no, I love what you're saying, because it's exactly that different people need different things at different times. And you want that, because if everybody wants the same thing at the same time, you're going to run out, and then you have squabbles, and then people cry. And the thing is that there is enough. Every country in the world has enough resources to take care of everything. There's more than enough money in the world to take care of all the problems. The technologies, if they're not here already to solve every single problem, they will be here within 3 years. They already exist, you know. We have no idea who's discovered what in some hut in Southeast Africa, or who's developed what technology in the south of France, or all of these things. But the technologies are there, and we've been shown some really interesting technologies, as I know you have, that solve the problems. And so many of them, you know, who is it that said, it was an Einstein quote or something, you can't solve the problem on the level of thinking that created the problem. Yeah. And so many of the problems that people are running around pulling their hair out going, what will we do, what will we do, are literally solvable by in some cases, a flip of a switch, just like flicking the light on. And they're just so simple, elegant technologies that are that are solutions to so many horrible things. And I'll give you an amazing example, if you don't mind. I told you I was involved in the Transcendental Meditation
Yes.
TM organization. And they have a program which is limiting only in the ability to bring people together. And otherwise, it's an absolutely fabulous solution where it takes people who transcend relativity, get established in the unified field, in totality, in the source, course, and goal of absolutely everything, and then function from there, which is the very basis of fixing all of the problems, because then automatically the laws of nature grow in harmony. And they've had all these, they call it super radiance, I think is one of the terms they use. And they have found that if they get the square root of 1% of a particular population doing these advanced meditation programs, that they can affect crime rate and other conditions within the area. And the first documentation was actually in the Middle East in the late 70s, where they found when in Israel they got to certain, they could predict how many deaths there would be reported by how many people were in this group. And the study was such a good study, and one of the co-authors of it was one of my faculty when I was a student there. The study was such a good study that they later found out a few years later that study was in a textbook of in England, of how you put together a study that covers everything. And they had no issue about what the study was about, but they said, this is what they did. These are the controls. This is, the whole study was so well put together. And what they found was that when they got the right number of people, deaths went down. And when people couldn't make it to the program for whatever reasons in their busy lives, went back up. So that's the background. When this program first came out, it was in 78 or 79 came out. And I was in LA at the time. And they had a big meeting of all the people in LA who knew these advanced meditation techniques. And they had them all come together one afternoon in Pacific Palisades. And it was 240 something people came. And interestingly, for the Los Angeles region, the square root of 1%, the number that you need was like 100 less than that. It's only like 140 something. And so they did this. We all had dinner afterwards, whatever it was. It was good to see everybody that we hadn't seen in a while. And then everybody went home. And the next day, because you mentioned smog in San Francisco, the next day the US Weather Bureau came out and said, they said all the laws of nature are in perfect harmony. The air has never been clearer in the history of LA. And this was back in smog alerts all the time was happening. And nothing had, the amazing thing, Tyhson, is nothing happened. There were no winds that night. There were no storms. Everybody just went to bed. And when they woke up, and I was coming out of work with some friends of mine, and they were giddy. They were saying, I don't know why I'm so giddy. And I looked at them and I said, it's oxygen. You're breathing oxygen. You've been deprived of it, your whole life in LA, and you're getting it now. And again, this incredibly simple technology, because we're talking about light switch technologies. At the same time, I actually saw a drawing where they were thinking of putting huge fans around Mexico City. I mean, huge fans, many mile-long blades or whatever it was, to blow the smog away, to get rid of it. At the same time, this group of people get together, have fun for an afternoon, and it clears it for like a week, So the solutions are here. If they're not here, they can be. Anything can be solved. And it just comes back to us deciding, the individual having that clear intention of, not on my watch. You can't do that anymore. Just to say that about whatever, for people to own their own integrity, and to get that, they can, that just simply making a decision within themselves affects the individuals around them, the individuals around them, and on and on.
That's
So,
why your technology is so important. And we come back to the individual and helping them, remove their own smog by allowing them to be entrained to these frequencies so they can remember who they are. And not only will they remember who they are, they'll start the healing. They'll have spontaneous healing on all levels as well. And instead of smelling the coffee, they smell the oxygen. I love that, oxygen deprived LA people being giddy from too much oxygen. Makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah. And giddy people don't create crimes.
No.
They may be missed at this.
Right.
But you don't do crimes, Nobody who's feeling great and thinking clearly does any of these horrible things that have been happening, So.
Well, I think we just did another show, and I think it was on, the evolution of consciousness and planetary transformation. So that was pretty exciting conversation.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Well, good. So let me know when it airs, or send me the whatever so I can send it to my people.
All right.
Good.
So once again, thank you ever so much. And
we will talk soon.
And we'll be in touch.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, thewellnessstore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.